You're watching Wall Street Confidential. Happy Friday. Next week, a big week for interest rates.
Right.
Well, people think that the Fed's
Right.
not going to do anything.
Well, I think the Fed's going to issue a very counterproductive statement. I think they're going to say that they're still very worried about inflation, but they see some signs of deflation. They see some weakness in the consumer, but they see some strength in the consumer. It will be exactly the worst thing you can imagine. And that, coupled with a coming attack that I see on Citigroup by the hedge funds, will produce still another week of pain.
Why is it that no one is calling the Fed out and saying, well besides you?
It's very frightening to call them out. I'm always scared when I do it. They're a very powerful organization. There's no reason to take them on. There's always been a notion that you are attacking the institution, not the individuals who run it. The president is always hands off. People always feel that this is, you pick a guy and that's your guy, and that's foolish. This is a very critical time in the country, and we need someone who's savvier, smarter. I mean, we're at it again. I know he cut rates, but he seems to be very uninvolved in a lot of what's going on. I mean, we have major institutions. I mean, if you go back to my rant, I said that major institutions are going to fail and people are going to lose their jobs, and no one thought that at that point, and it hadn't happened. And now Bear, soon to be Lehman, I believe. I think AIG could go. And these are my black holes. I've been saying Washington Mutual's, I think, is insolvent. And I say these things, and people say, "Well, how can you say that?" But I'm just looking at what the balance sheets are and what we know. So my take is that they'll do the wrong thing. They've done the wrong thing. They've been behind the curve, is what it is, and they're behind it again. In 2003, to be sure that things weren't out of control, Greenspan took rates down to 1. That was prudent. He did a lot of things that were reckless. He didn't take them up fast enough, and then he advised a lot of people to take adjustable mortgages and then raise the rate 17 times. But at least he had the prudence to recognize that the systemic risk was too great. Bernanke, who studied the Depression, is really he's just the wrong guy for the job, which is okay. I mean, not everybody's suited for certain jobs. This was a bad pick by a bad president.
Well, Jim, you're calling for a 50 basis points.
Well, yeah, I just think we ought to get, if you're 2, we ought to cut it, in half.
And what would that immediately stimulate if we got that?
Well, what happens is that you're getting 2% in your money funds, okay? 2%, you're getting 2% in your checking account and your savings account. So you would get 1%, all right? And then they would be able to invest that money at the 2-year, which is yielding 2%. So when you see these deposit bases, these huge deposit bases like Washington Mutual, their net interest margin would explode, which would then make people feel like, the net interest margin will offset a lot of the bad loans. That's what happened in 1990 for the better institutions. And a company like Washington Mutual may not still make it in that environment, but a Wells Fargo would have so much money, or JP Morgan would have so much money that they would then have stocks that would go up and could buy these. This is a very obvious game plan. But again, it requires a modicum of history and a modicum of dexterity and flexibility. And it requires a dropping of an ideology, which is we're not going to take care of something until it's right about to crash. I'm not saying Bernanke is an idiot. He's clearly not an idiot. You don't get those credentials. But he's over his head. And that's the game plan. This is the game plan that I've been advocating for a year. Has never been put in place. So they've never been able to take the rates low enough to be able to make it so they can make money. My plan last August was 2-year was at 4, take the Fed funds to 2, and the same thing, net interest margin will explode. And they're just not going to do it, which is why in another video I'll talk about what to do with Citigroup.
All right. Well, that Fed meeting is on September 16th. We'll keep you posted. Thanks a lot, Jim Cramer.
Thank you.
This is Wall Street Confidential. Stay tuned.